A disguise that promised easy prey. But disguises can trap the wearer too. The wolf in sheep's clothing has given English a phrase that everyone understands. Someone who pretends to be harmless while actually intending harm. But Aesop's original fable has a twist that the phrase does not capture. The wolf's disguise, which helps him deceive the sheep, eventually becomes the cause of his destruction. The story warns not only about those who wear disguises but also about the risks of wearing one yourself. The disguise: the wolf was hungry, as wolves often are, and the sheep in the nearby pasture looked delicious. But the shepherd was watchful, and the dogs were fierce. Every direct attack had been repelled. Every approach had ended in failure. The wolf could see his prey grazing peacefully, but he could not reach them. The sheep saw a friend, the wolf saw dinner, and no one knew the difference. Then he found the fleece. A complete sheepskin, perhaps from a sheep that had died or been killed by another predator. An idea formed in his clever, hungry mind. If he wore the fleece, he might be able to walk among the sheep undetected. He would look like one of them. He would smell like one of them. Even the dogs might not recognize him. He draped the fleece over his body, pulling it tight to hide his gray fur and sharp teeth. The transformation was convincing enough that even close inspection might have been fooled. The woolly exterior, the sheep-like shape, the innocent posture he practiced. He approached the flock with a bleating attempt at sheep language, and no one raised an alarm. The deception worked. The sheep accepted him as one of their own, the dogs ignored him, and the shepherd saw nothing amiss. The wolf had successfully infiltrated the flock, gaining access to prey he could never have reached by force. All that remained was to enjoy the bounty his cleverness had provided. The feast for several days, the wolf lived among the sheep, eating well. When the flock settled for the night, he would separate one sheep from the others and kill it quietly. The other sheep never suspected. The shepherd and dogs, seeing only sheep, detected nothing wrong. The wolf had found the perfect hunting situation. In the darkness, the disguise hid the predator, but it hid him from everyone. He grew bolder with each success. His disguise had opened a world of easy prey, no more chasing, no more fighting off dogs, no more careful approach and sudden retreat. He simply chose his victim, waited for the right moment, and struck. The sheep were his buffet, and he intended to enjoy them fully. But every deception carries risks that the deceiver may not anticipate. The wolf thought only about deceiving the sheep and dogs. He did not consider that his disguise deceived everyone, including those who might have their own plans for sheep. He had become so confident in his costume that he forgot what it actually meant to look like a sheep. The shepherd, meanwhile, noticed that his flock was shrinking but could not find the cause. No wolves had been seen, no carcasses were left behind, sheep simply vanished overnight. He increased his vigilance during the day but never thought to look among the sheep themselves. The wolf was hiding in plain sight, and the shepherd's assumptions protected him. The trap. One evening, the shepherd decided he wanted mutton for dinner. He went to the sheep pen in the darkness, planning to grab the nearest animal and slaughter it for his meal. He reached in, felt wool, and pulled, dragging out a sheep-shaped figure that struggled and snapped in a very unsheep-like way. He looked like a sheep, so he died like one, but it was too late. The shepherd's knife did its work before his eyes adjusted to the dim light, before he realized that the teeth snapping at his hand were too sharp, before the sounds of dying were too fierce. When he saw what he had actually killed, he stared in confused wonder. A wolf wearing sheep's clothing, killed because his disguise had worked too well. The wolf's cleverness had been his undoing. He had hidden among the sheep so effectively that the shepherd treated him as a sheep. The same disguise that protected him from recognition as a predator exposed him to the fate of prey. He had become what he pretended to be, and he died for it. The sheep were safe, though they never knew from what. The shepherd buried the wolf and kept the story, telling it to anyone who would listen. The tale of a deceiver caught in his own deception, a hunter who became the hunted through the very trick that was supposed to protect him. The lesson: the fable's most famous moral is simply, appearances can be deceiving. A warning to be careful about those who seem harmless but may harbor dangerous intentions. Wolves in sheep's clothing are everywhere in human society. Con artists who seem friendly, politicians who promise what they won't deliver, businesses that appear helpful while exploiting their customers. We should look beyond surfaces to understand true intentions. Every disguise has two edges, hiding what you are but also trapping you in what you pretend to be. But the fable also contains a warning for the wolves themselves. Disguises are dangerous because they change how everyone perceives you, not just your intended victims. The wolf thought he was controlling his identity, but his identity controlled him. Anyone who saw a sheep treated him as a sheep, including the shepherd with a knife. Deception creates a false reality that can trap the deceiver. The shepherd, too, learns something. He was deceived not because the wolf's disguise was sophisticated but because his own assumptions were strong. He expected to find sheep in a sheep pen, so he found sheep, even when other evidence, the snarling, the resistance might have revealed the truth. We often see what we expect to see, and our expectations can be exploited. Children reading this fable learn to be careful about trusting appearances. Adults learn that appearing to be something you are not creates risks that may not be obvious until too late. Everyone learns that deception, even successful deception, carries costs that may eventually exceed its benefits.